don't let a virus outbreak result in a network infection.
Well, Michael, obviously, we're in a unique situation here in that we're all remote doing this taping today, and we're all information security professionals, and we have a role to play at this time. I mean, what are some suggestions you've gathered for things that we can do as information security professionals?
Yeah, so this is certainly leading to some new challenges for a lot of organizations because it's certainly a kind of a black swan event that people are trying to have to deal with, on short notice. So some of these things might have just kind of fallen by the wayside and are really good ideas. The first is to really do what you can to understand the remote work environment. So, as you're sending these individuals home, where are they working? Are they working from home, or had they planned to go work from a coffee shop, or something along those lines? Do they have adequate physical security around any kind of sensitive or proprietary information or hardware, things like that? And what kind of IT infrastructures do they have at their residence, right? Are they requiring a Wi-Fi password? Do they actually have a personal firewall on their, home cable modem or what have you? So getting an understanding of what that remote work environment looks like is something that, should be a level set as you send people home. And then making sure that the endpoint controls that are being enforced on machines that are typically in the office are still going to work as expected when those machines are outside of the office. Now, this, for workers that are already telecommuting or have a history of that, not really going to be an issue. But for organizations that might have people that, really those machines really haven't traveled before, there might be some hiccups there. You just want to make sure that your control posture is staying up to date. And from a person perspective, really hammering home the fact that everyone is getting phished over this right now. Everything from malicious phone applications purporting to be COVID outbreak trackers that are installing malware on mobile devices to various pretexts that are designed to solicit credentials and, conduct traditional phishing attack type things are rampant right now. So definitely making sure that any controls you have in place are working, and any education that you have, you're really doubling down on. Next, making sure that you understand which of your employees are working with sensitive data, regulated data, or otherwise, personally identifiable data, and making sure that you're putting additional controls around those folks and additional guidance, right? Because it would be very tempting for somebody to possibly print off some financial data or ePHI or other types of materials at home. And now those materials are outside the office environment and have fewer physical controls and could be, result in a disclosure through any number of scenarios there. So understanding what those employees are doing from a role perspective and providing customized guidance for each of those based on that. From a detective perspective, this is going to wreak havoc with some organizations' detective controls, right? Because people are going to be logging in from strange places that they've never logged in from before, strange IPs, strange work hours, things like that, as people are accommodating new work-life balance situations as a result of these things. So your IDFC, your SIM, is going to be showing a lot of erratic activity as a result of this. And that's something that's going to cause more noise and make it harder for you to really identify what actual attacks are going on. So making sure that you're really taking a very close look at some of these things right now is going to be important, throughout this period. So next, if you haven't implemented, some form of multi-factor or two-factor authentication with those VPN connections that people are going to be using now, that is really highly recommended. That tends to be, credential abuse is a common source of breaches in investigations. So that you're definitely going to want to make sure that that is in place, and that you're not allowing split tunneling configurations wherever possible to minimize any risk exposure from their local IT infrastructure in that remote office. And lastly, just do what you can to keep really good records, because eventually this crisis will pass and there are going to be audits that occur, and people are going to be wanting to know why certain processes were not followed, why certain policy exceptions were made, and looking for records to kind of justify those things. So, keep that data, backlog that data. That way you can answer those questions going forward. And if you do start to notice interesting activity that you need to follow up on, you'll have those event data, net flow data, and what have you to be able to fall back on.
So, are you thinking, that we're just going to, in some ways we need to treat this just like as a normal day. It's just people are in a different location, right? So I just wonder, locations that have more of a clean desk environment, are certainly going to have challenges, because you don't control that desk as much.
Absolutely. Well, you think about people that might have roommates or, other, higher traffic home environments, and these things become a challenge, especially since even if you have control over one endpoint, you may not have control over all of the endpoints on that local network.
Yeah, no, I think this article is really good, especially from the timeliness aspect of it, because, speaking to what you brought up about get ready to expect to see all kinds of unusual activity coming into your network, especially with VPN becoming more, more used in the environment. I know right now we've been noticing some anomalies, things we haven't seen before with a lot of our VPN user base over the past couple of days here. So that's definitely something that I expect everybody is probably running into in this field. And the other things a lot of people would be concerned about as well, that we ran into as well, is making sure that you have adequate facilities for your VPN so that you can handle the increased load, because you might double or triple the number of users that you would normally expect to see on your VPN on a regular basis. So, I think these are important things, considerations to take into factor. I guess the one other thing that I thought I was reading through the article that I thought was useful, for smaller organizations, at the beginning there you said make sure you have some sort of inventory or questionnaire that you put out to your employee workforce so you have a good understanding of what their work from home environment is. And a lot of people probably wouldn't have a good idea of what I should even be asking my employees at home. So in this article here that we could reference people to, they do at the end of it have a quick little checklist that you could use to send out to your employee workforce to get at least the basics down of what their work from home environment is like, so that your network security people will have some reference point. So when they see that person log in from VPN, and they can cross-reference with data and figure out, is this where we should expect to see them come from and whatnot. So a lot of good information in here.